What was your high school's biggest scandal? Our school spent the entire summer expanding the parking lot. They sent emails to parents saying this would create more spaces and lower costs for students. My senior year started, and suddenly parking permits were $120 per semester, up from $30. When people complained, the principal sent out a mass email saying the increase was necessary to maintain the new facility and ensure quality parking for our growing student body. Except a lot wasn't growing. They'd actually cut student spaces from 200 down to 90 and gave the new section entirely to faculty. Teachers who used to park in the back lot now had premium front row spots, while students fought over the remaining spaces. Some kids were showing up at 6 a.m. for a 7:30 start time just to get a spot. My friend Aiden had it worse than anyone. His mom got diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in August, right before school started. The medical bills were crushing their family. Aiden started working at a restaurant after school, pulling 5-hour shifts 4 nights a week to help cover costs. His mom was too sick to drive him, and the city bus didn't run late enough for his 10 p.m. closing shifts. Without parking, he'd have to quit. His manager couldn't accommodate earlier hours. Aiden went to the principal's office during lunch, explained his situation, and asked if there was any way to get an exception or a payment plan. I was waiting outside and heard the whole thing through the door. The principal told him, "Life's tough, son. We all have challenges. You need to figure out your transportation situation. These fees apply to everyone fairly." Aiden came out of that office looking destroyed. He didn't say anything, just went straight to his next class. That night, he texted our group chat saying he'd have to quit his job. His mom was crying because she felt guilty, and there was nothing any of us could do about it. Then Aiden got mad instead of sad. He started digging through the school board's website, looking through meeting minutes and budget reports. 3 days later, he came to school with this wild look in his eyes and a folder full of printed documents. Turns out, the parking fee increase was never actually voted on or approved by the school board. The principal and superintendent had just decided to do it on their own, claiming it was an administrative decision that didn't require board approval. Except according to the school district's own bylaws, any fee increase over 50% required a formal board vote. Not only that, but the expansion project had actually come in under budget. They'd allocated $180,000 for the work, but the final cost was only $124,000. The maintenance costs they kept citing didn't exist. Aiden made copies of everything: board bylaws, meeting minutes, budget reports, email communications he'd requested through a public records request. Then he made a poster with illegal parking fees in massive red letters and taped all the documents underneath it. He put one on every building entrance before school started. By first period, students were taking photos and posting them everywhere. By lunch, the main office was flooded with students demanding refunds. By the end of the day, parents were calling the superintendent's office so frequently that they had to disconnect the phones. The principal tried to have Aiden suspended for creating disruption and posting unauthorized materials on school property. But Aiden's mom, even while going through chemo, contacted a lawyer from her hospital bed. That's when things really exploded. The local news picked up the story. Student exposes illegal fees at local high school ran on the evening broadcast. They interviewed Aiden outside the school, and he calmly explained everything while showing the documents. He mentioned his mom's cancer and needing to work, but he kept the focus on the money and the process. The school board called an emergency meeting. Over 300 parents showed up. The superintendent tried to claim it was a misunderstanding and that they had implied authority to make such decisions. One board member, a lawyer himself, read directly from the bylaws and asked the superintendent to point out where implied authority existed for fee increases. The superintendent couldn't answer. The board voted unanimously to roll back the fees and refund every student who'd already paid. They also launched an investigation into where the extra $56,000 from the construction budget had gone. 2 weeks later, both the principal and superintendent announced their resignations. The investigation found they'd been using district funds for personal expenses, and the parking fee scheme was just one piece of a larger problem. The board dropped parking fees to $15 per semester and voted to allocate 150 of the 200 total spaces to students instead of faculty. Teachers complained, but parents reminded them that students were the ones paying for parking. Aiden kept his job. His mom finished her chemo treatments and went into remission last spring. At graduation, he got a standing ovation when they called his name, and not just because of the parking thing. The superintendent's arrest for embezzlement made bigger news, but Aiden was the one who pulled the first thread. Last I heard, Aiden's studying political science in college. Says he wants to be a lawyer specializing in education policy. After what I watched him do senior year, I believe he'll be damn good at it.